Farm4Profit Podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm4Profit Podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm4Profit Podcast.
Well, here we are, last day of the Commodity Classic 2024. Again, I just can't believe how big the booth is. The largest booth in Commodity Classic history.
It is. It's huge. You think it's 2 acres or 1 acre?
Oh, it's got to be pretty close to it. At least an acre and a half.
It's big. I mean, a football field's 1 acre,
Yeah.
so I'm just trying to picturing that in here, and it's definitely bigger than one.
I was talking to a guy on the combine team. He was saying it was just over 1 football field.
Okay.
Okay, so a little over an acre. So I would have lost Price is Right style. Can't go over.
$1
Can't go
Bob.
over. But we are excited to open up this Farm for Profit show here. Got all three of the co-hosts, Tanner, Dave, and Corey. I know we get some new listeners every once in a while, so wanted to remind everybody that you are going to get 3 unique voices, plus our guest today. We've got Clayton Lind. I should have asked. Is that how you pronounce it, Lind?
Yeah, Clayton Lind, L-I-N-D,
There
not
you go.
Lind.
No, that's pretty good. And you are with Atlas Media Solutions.
That is correct, sir.
Not just with. That's your company.
Yeah, so I'm rebranding it as Atlas Ag Media Solutions because that's better fits what we do. But we are an agriculture focused exclusively. All we will ever do is ag media. That's all we will ever do. And so I said we got to change our name because ag needs to be in that title because that's what we believe in. So
Yep. We're in the John Deere booth. Tried to get him to take his hat off. Said he wouldn't. So our editor's going to have to edit that out. There's a little blob
just
right
blur
there.
this logo
Yeah.
out.
Yep. Tell you what.
But it'll be exciting to learn more about your background because you aren't a farm kid.
I am not.
Okay, so tell us about little Clayton.
Little Clayton. So I was born in a little mountain town called Truckee, California. If anyone knows where Tahoe is, Tahoe's kind of like the main claim to fame. But Lake Tahoe, big ski area, we had the Olympics there in the 60s. And so I grew up in this like tiny little ski town. At least it was tiny back then. Now, since COVID, the world is just like everyone and their mom moved there because it's like, oh, we can work from home now? Oh, let's go ski every single day.
There you go.
So population exploded after COVID. But anyways, grew up in this tiny town. I have like zero farm background. I didn't know what a combine was until I was like 16. I moved to Montana when
And
I was...
what, you're 17 now?
I get that a lot. I'm 23 years old, but when I was 16, I moved to Montana. So I grew up in California that whole time and knew nothing about farming. But I had a media background. I did an internship in high school doing media, and I was like, I'm going to graduate early and start my own media production company. And so at 16, I was like, all right, see ya, high school. I'm out of here. So I graduated at 16, took a different route, ended up in Montana in a tiny little town called Fishtail. There was 128 people who lived there, and I was around horses and cows every day, and I was like, this is different. Met my first person from Iowa at that point, and they said, you know what a combine is? And I said, I have no idea what a combine is. But I spent 4 years in Montana, and it was, I mean, if you guys have ever been to Montana, it is absolutely gorgeous. And to this day, I dream about it all the time. I'm always hunting work out there. I'm like, I want to trip out to Montana on a work trip.
So Dave's from Montana.
You're from Montana? What part?
The north central part, Havre, Montana.
Oh, okay.
Is the name, but lived all over the state now.
Okay.
So, well,
what did you do in Havre?
this is where I grew up, born and raised in the Havre, left to North Dakota to go to college, and then came back. So now I go back quarterly, teach auction school. So in Bozeman. So go to Bozeman, and then I elk hunt all over the state just because I like hunting. And yeah.
I got to ask, do you know a Hansen family?
A Hansen family.
One of my old mentors.
They sing Mbop.
yeah, I know those guys.
One of my old mentors is from Havre, and I lived in Columbus, Montana area. Fishtail is the actual town, but no one knows where Fishtail, Montana is. And you know where Fishtail, Montana is? Cool. But Columbus, like hour from Billings.
Well, there's only one zip code, so you got the area code rather, the 406. So
why did your family move to Montana from California?
My family didn't. I graduated 16, and I had met someone who went to a tiny rinky-dink like gap year program out there. They're like, you should do this, and I'm like, I'm starting my own production company.
Okay.
And at that time, I was young, and this is when YouTube was kind of starting to become its own thing. And so I was like, I want to be like Casey Neistat or Peter McKinnon. I want to travel the world and take photos and videos for a living. But my life took a different route after that. I ended up working in media for this gap year program and got super burnt out. And so I was like, all right, I'm done. So I ended up becoming a mechanic after that.
Oh, wow.
I've done like 100 things in the past decade.
And you're 23.
Yeah, it's been an eventful few years.
What kind of mechanic? Like a diesel mechanic, car mechanic?
It was car mechanic then, but after Montana, I bounced back to California at one point for about 9 months, and I worked for an excavation company. And so I was working on big iron all the time, lots of diesel engines. We had a fleet of F-350s, so working on Fords, working on semis, working on Caterpillar, John Deere excavators, all that stuff. That's where I kind of I was raised by a single mother. I'll throw that in there.
Yep.
Who ran her own business. She ran a cleaning company in Lake Tahoe. And so Lake Tahoe, tons of ski rentals. And so people come in for 3 days. They rent a house. They ski for 3 days, leave. My mom comes in and cleans it for the next people. Super cool business. My mom worked very hard to provide for me and my brother like our entire childhood. And like I will forever be so thankful for that. But she also, like when we were like 12, she was like, if you want something, we don't have any money, so you have to come work for me.
Sure.
I was like, I'll pay you to come like dust houses and like clean bathrooms and things like that. And so that's how I would make my money as a kid. And just like very early on, my mom was like, okay, even if I wasn't raised on a farm, my mom raised me like a farm kid. She's like, if you want money, you work your butt off for it. Oh, you want that PlayStation? Go to work. Like, I'll pay you $18 an hour, which in California was nothing back then even.
Well, that still sounds great today. It's probably more than I'm making here at the show.
I think minimum wage is like $8.75 in Iowa. And I'm just like, how do you live on that?
When you went to Montana, did you keep your California plates?
Yeah, oh man, dude, the amount of grief I got
I was gonna
being
say,
a Californian. I never changed
Did anybody
them
put a sticker on that says no more room? Because there's stickers in Montana that says we have no more room. Just don't come to our state.
Dave, let me tell you, even now when I introduce myself to people in Iowa, I typically leave out the California. Because it just like immediately shuts down the conversation. Like, oh, I'm like, don't worry, I'm different. I'm different. I promise.
Which we spent the last week, 2 weeks ago, making fun of folks in California while we were out in California. And I will tell you, though, there are some awesome people that are there. It's just too bad that some of the loudest ones.
My opinion has changed. I want to go back.
And that's what I never understood. Now that I like live in Iowa, I live in farm world, and even in Montana, farm world, ranch world. That's what you do. I go back now, and I'm like, this entire state is nothing but farmland. I like anywhere that's not the city or the mountains. I'm like farm, ranch, grapes, fruit.
That's the most diverse.
Oh my god,
very diverse.
Yeah. No, I the more I could never live there again. At least not the way it is now, but every time I go back, I'm like, I want to spend more time on the ag side of this state because there's just such diversity and so many people who are there that I'm like, this would be so much fun to just spend like 2 weeks just visiting different types of farms because there's so many.
Content opportunities in ag. I mean, there's over 200 crops in the valley that we were in.
Sheesh.
Where would you start and stop?
When I'm dead.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
how'd you go from Montana to Iowa?
Well, like any good person who's not from Iowa would do, they met a girl. I worked with a guy whose sister visited on spring break, and he was like, you should ask my sister out. And I said, that's not something you hear very often.
Yeah.
I'll take you a little seriously.
I tried that with Tanner.
Just kidding. I had no interest in your sister.
Oh, I don't have a sister.
Oh, that's right.
Anyways, I was like, all right, let's go on a date. And that ended up happening. We dated for about 1.5 years, and COVID hit. So COVID hits, and I'm like, well, I lost my job in Montana. And I was like, well, it's going to be really hard to make money in the middle of nowhere, Montana, if you don't have a job. It's not like you can just go to McDonald's and get a job because there is no McDonald's. It's the middle of nowhere. And so I was like, all right, I can move to Iowa. There's a little more work there. The gal I was dating at the time, things did not work out. But the gal I was dating at the time, her cousin owned a farm and they needed a farm hand. And I was like, I got a diesel mechanic background. I've driven heavy machinery before. Like I think I can transition to that farm life. Okay. It might be a pay cut compared to working as a diesel mechanic, but I was like, I was actually watching Cole the Corn Star during COVID. And I was just like, I want to try that at some point. That looks kind of cool. I was like, I just want to give it a shot. Maybe not the rest of my life, but I want to at least try farming at some point. 3 months later, I'm in Iowa and I'm tearing out a fence and driving tractors, raking hay. And I'm like, this is way harder than it looks on YouTube.
This is way harder.
But it was awesome. It was super cool. I mean, the guy I worked for, he was corn, soybeans, did all his own hay, cow calf, all the way up to feedlot. And so just even for Iowa, like that's pretty unique nowadays.
Yeah.
Like most people have gotten out of cow calf. A couple dairies left, but everyone's got hogs. Not a lot of people are doing cow calf to feedlot.
Yeah. So you must have been in western Iowa.
Northeastern.
Northeastern. Okay, I know.
Elkader area, Old Wine area. But it was like, because of that, I was doing a dozen different things every single day. It's like, okay, go fix the fence. Oh, go move cows. Oh, we got to fix this tractor. Harvest is coming up. Oh, roll the combine up the road. We got to do our inspections and everything. It's like, I got the fun of like just the fire hose of everything you could do on a farm in Iowa, plus some in the course of like 9 months. It was like I showed up at planting, and then I left kind of right after harvest because like, I love this. It's so much fun, but I cannot make a career out of being a farmhand. And I was like, this is when land prices started to like just skyrocket. I was like, it's going to be really hard for me to buy my own farmland working as a farmhand.
So you decided to marry into it? I see you got a ring on.
No.
Oh, okay.
Good. That was a good transition. No, me and that girl ended up breaking up. I was actually still working for her cousin at the time. I mean, him and I are still good friends. We talk pretty regularly. Like, I'll go up and help work cattle anytime he's got the vet out. Like, still a really good relationship with him. But it didn't work out. I was living in the middle of nowhere. I didn't have any friends because I moved to Iowa in the middle of COVID. I was like, I got to move somewhere where I can at least meet some people my age. So I actually ended up as a John Deere tech for 4 days.
For 4 days.
So I moved back to Waterloo, which is where I'm at now. So I was working as a John Deere apprentice tech at the time, working my way to full apprenticeship, and just something happened one of the days in the shop, like first 4 days, and I was like, I left with the utmost respect. I was like, this is just not an environment I can see myself spending 30 years in. Like, the most respectful way I could tell my supervisor was like, hey, this might cut it for some people. I was like, I don't want to spend 30 years in this environment, you know. And so all that happened, and I was like, I don't want to waste your time, is what I told him. I was like, you can pay me for the next 3 to 6 months. I'm more than happy to keep working for you. Like, I can do the oil changes. I can do all the little things to a great ability. But I was like, I don't want you to spend the next 6 months expecting me to be here for 30 years. And he was like, that's the best resignation I've ever been given. And I actually still go in there every once in a while. My brother-in-law runs a landscaping company. And so we got some deer loaders, and every once in a while I got to go and part. I'm like, hey, Dean, how's it going? And so I was able to leave in a very gracious way. That's cool. And he understood, you know, there's some mechanics out there who'll just like give you the middle finger and it's like, all right, well, I'm out of here today. And he was just like, oh, thank you for at least having a conversation with me about this. And so that was just super cool. But that night I met my brother-in-law, my now brother-in-law, behind Shields because I was going to plow snow that winter. So I grew up. That's
not what I thought you were going to say you were doing.
What did you think I was doing?
Well, it's a dark, quiet place and late in the evening. Yeah. But anyway, you met him behind Shields.
It was like October. It was like 6:30. Okay. You know? I had gotten some canes from the canes right there.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I met him behind there. I plowed snow in Montana and California and done it with heavy equipment. And so he plows the Shields there. He's got a couple like big lots. And so he had a listing on Facebook. And I was like, I don't know. I kind of want to plow snow. It's pretty relaxing. You know, it's kind of like, you know, sitting in a tractor raking hay. It's like, okay, you put your headphones in.
Instant gratification.
Yeah, instant gratification. It's pretty relaxing, especially like in the middle of the night. Like, no one's really bothering you if it's not a day storm. And I was like, I could do this. Met him behind Shields, and we instantly hit it off. And to this day, like, he's one of my best friends. So I did that for a winter, and then that following winter, no, not the following winter. So I worked for him that winter. Halfway through, I bought a drone on Facebook Marketplace because I was like, I kind of miss doing video stuff. I might want to like get back into this after my burnout. And so I bought like a $400 drone from a guy down in Hudson, Iowa. And I started flying it while I was plowing snow, just kind of having fun and stuff like that. My brother-in-law was like, you should make me a website. And I was like,
oh, there you go.
Okay, I'll do that. You know, you got like $1,000? Yeah. He was like, yeah, I'll pay you $1,000, which back then I was like, $1,000 for a little website? That's awesome. And now I'm like, oh, that ain't going to cut. But did that, and I was like, oh, this actually might be something that I could turn into a business. And I was like, so I did some landscaping and construction stuff, but I was like, the farm kid in me that was instilled in my 1 year of farming was just like itching at the back of my head. I was like, I love what I do. I love the construction and heavy equipment industries. They're awesome. I have some background in them. It was like, when I like lay awake at night dreaming of what I want to do, it's like it's either working cows or driving a tractor. And I was like, I was just thinking, I was like, I grew up in California. Their primary income driver in California for the whole state is agriculture. Like, that is how you make your money in California. Like, California makes their money from agriculture, whether you realize it or not. It's not Silicon Valley. It's all the ag in the state. And I was like, how did I know nothing about farming my whole life? And I was like, someone's got to do something about this. And I was like, a lot of media in the ag world kind of sucks. Like, I think we can all acknowledge that. Yeah. Like, a lot of the media and marketing is kind of like 10 years behind every other industry. And I was like, I think there's a huge need for this. And not only is there a huge need for this, I was like, the world needs to know more about their food. And I was like, no one's doing what needs to be done. I felt like I was like, we need to take this, like we're all out here right now. I was like, we have to go up here because all of society depends on the people who grow their food. And if we are not putting our best foot forward on the internet and in media, we are going to get forgotten and trampled over like we have been for the past decade. And I was like, all right, I'm saying no to everything that's not agriculture related anymore, and we are going 100% in ag.
When is this? What date and time?
We're 2021.
Okay. So just 3 years ago.
Might have been 2. Might have been 2022.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I got to ask just before we get into this, because I know this is going to go deep. Coming from a non-ag background and going and working on a farm, were you surprised at the lack of daily tractor driving? And like, because I feel like everyone romanticizes like, oh, you guys are just out in the fields all the time and doing this, and we do spend a lot of time in the summer, but like, there's a lot of a lot of the business that gets done not in a tractor.
Yeah, I used to be a mechanic. You know what I did a lot of? Fixing chemical pumps for loading sprayers.
Yeah.
I spent a lot because I have a small engine background, especially like you work with chainsaws and like those little Honda engines were my jam. I fixed so many of those because it was just like, oh, we need to get the chemical pump going. Oh, we had a tree come down in one of our pastures to fix the fence. Like, I got to fix a chainsaw now. Or tractors need an oil change. I did a lot of shop work and just a lot of running around and doing things. It was just a lot of that stuff. And like everyone's like, oh, you spend all day on a tractor. It's like, yeah, I'm raking hay at 100 degrees on an open cab 40/20. It's fun, but it's hot. And I'm exhausted. Like I had a big sun hat that I would use when I raked hay on the open cab tractors because my shoulders would just get like you just feel scorched from the sun all day. It's like, yeah, you know, some guys have those nice air-conditioned tractors, but a lot of guys are still out there using old
Every
tractors.
tractor they've got.
Yep.
Yeah, and that 40/20 breaks down less than all the brand new ones he had. And that tractor was awesome. It was a ton of fun to run, and like I want a 40/20 now. I don't need a 40/20. I live in the middle of Waterloo,
you need a
Iowa.
40/20.
You do. Everybody needs a 40/20.
But it's like I put a 40/20 in my garage because it's an awesome tractor. It's super cool.
It's still the workhorse on our farm. I mean, any little small odd job that we're doing, I mean, whether it's grading the driveway or moving an auger.
The best auger tractor ever built. It will be an auger tractor until every auger.
Which is crazy because when it came out, it was not. That's not what it was for. It was for doing all the farming.
It was the big deal. It was like, oh, this is a heavy duty workhorse tractor. It's the big one, and now it's like, oh, it's like a mid-sized machine that you just build. You know.
Yeah.
See, we were a little off kilter. We had a 4000. Still have a John Deere 4000. So we didn't have the 40/20, but that 4000 did a lot of the field work for a lot of my childhood.
The cool kids had the 40/20s.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I got a 30/20 for sale. I'm like, it ain't no 40/20.
You guys got to own them both.
Kid.
Yeah. But that thing, like those are things, like, you're right. Like, it was like a lot of, like harvest season, I sit in a grain cart for like 8 hours a day. Planting season, it's like I just move the seed tender around all day.
Yep.
But you get to like that middle season, that growing season, support the sprayer, checking crops, checking cows, fixing all the little things that are just breaking all the time. Even the new stuff is like, we got stuff we got to fix. You know, it's just, that was kind of the theme of it, is like everything's a little chaotic. You know, we'd every once in a while, I was like, okay, let's clean up the farm a little. Like, let's go around, get rid of some scrap metal and things like that. Just like little things that you don't think about, but happen every single day on a farm. And working with a farmer too, this guy was super knowledgeable. He lived in Montana for a while too, so he had like a big farm background from like wheat and canola out west, and he's grew up on a farm in Iowa. So he's just telling me all these things about the ag industry, and he's got cows too. It's like, my mind was just blown. It's like, you can use corn for that. You can use a cow hide for that. He's like, wait, you're telling me that like the corn market is like one of the coolest, most complicated, like life integral things to our life, and we don't even realize it. And I was like, now I understand why we grow so much corn. It was like, it's everywhere.
So we are doing a profit show. This is going to be the extreme fun version of a profit show, and I love this because Corey hit the nail on the head. Coming from outside of agriculture and working in it was eye-opening and an experience for you. We have a lot of our listeners that consider themselves influencers or creators or advocates. Some do it via social media. Some do it via the boards that they're a part of. Some do it in the communities that they live in. Everybody loves telling their story about agriculture, but we've said a lot that it feels like, especially when you get into Farm Talk or AgX or those types of online networks, that we're just telling our story to other farmers, which is still good, right? But how, the focus of this episode, how does somebody with the perspective of being outside of agriculture provide some insight to us to get our message outside of agriculture?
So I think about this a lot, and I'm trying to figure out the best terminology to phrase it, but a lot of the advocacy, what we call it, advocacy in the industry, is like a silo. It's like, every once in a while, but it's really just bouncing around inside until we fill it up to the top. It's like most of the people walking by a silo have no idea what's inside of it, and that's how the ag industry works. And my goal, and it's hard, like I'm not going to say like everyone who's out there working hard trying to do it, like keep doing it, but we got to keep iterating on what we're doing. I come from the outside. I'm like, everything I ever hear about farming is from the news or a documentary I saw on Netflix. So I'm hearing, we're spraying too many pesticides, we're giving everyone cancer, or all the right repair stuff with John Deere is like, I worked on brand new John Deere tractors. You can work on them, but every consumer sees a news headline like, well, you can't do anything to it. I'm like, you can, you just have no idea what you're talking about. And so we have all these authorities in the industry saying, don't eat meat, don't do these things, and they view it from these perspectives. And that's kind of where I've been at. Like, honestly, there are some phenomenal ag content creators out there. Like I think of like the Shiloh Farm. Like he's one of the. I can think of like maybe 3 or 4. I'm like, you're actually connecting with that audience that doesn't like. It's like you've kind of taken that homestead vibe and you've connected all these different people to it. Or like.
Well, we went down to Farmer Froberg's just on Tuesday of this show. He's another one of those that has a very strong platform to be able to educate those about where their produce comes from.
Yeah, and so that's the thing is like you have to. We can create these platforms. We got to make sure we're not creating these platforms with a bunch of farmers. Like a lot of our videos that have performed well on social media, they're tractor videos. Who cares about watching tractor videos? People who like tractors. Yeah. Who doesn't care about watching tractor videos? Every once in a while, I get a comment and one's like, I don't care about tractors, but that video is sick, and like I love that. Like that fires me up. But I think that bridge content is kind of how I've coined it. Is like, okay, we need to have people who are passionate about things that are not just farming to kind of bridge that gap, like we're talking about. We talk so much about bridging the gap, but all of these terminologies were like, oh, the 1% feed the 99, or like, oh, all these farmers are retiring. Like that's great and it's true, but it's kind of just like, it kind of feels like virtue signaling. It's like, yeah, it's hard, guys, but like if we keep playing the victim card, we're getting nowhere.
Right.
It's like, no. Farmers feed everyone every day, and that's something you can stand on, not like say, I'm the best, like treat me with the utmost respect. It's like respect farmers and ranchers. But
because most farmers don't like to think of Farmer Day.
Yeah.
But that's a huge campaign for awareness outside of agriculture.
Yeah, and I think it does help, but you take that to the next extent, which is like we just basically create the victim card in the industry. Is like, well, no one understands us, no one's doing this. And it pisses me off because I'm like, that's awesome. First of all, this is one of the largest industries on the planet. We have the money to get things on Netflix. That's not like we can't do that. It's like, no, we just haven't figured out what the next thing is. That's, I think the reason Corey and I connected was because I posted a clip on LinkedIn and TikTok and stuff, and I was like, if someone's going to spend millions of dollars to bash agriculture on Netflix, I will be the guy to spend millions on it making pro-ag documentaries for Netflix and Amazon Prime, because no one's doing it, and it needs to be done. And I've just gotten so frustrated. It was like, we're sitting here and we're complaining about these problems. It's like, let's just do something, people. And so I have just, like, at the end of the day, I run a media marketing company, and that has to be profitable for me to do what I need to do. But I'll tell you guys, I'm not taking home a fat paycheck or anything. It's like, no, I'm pouring my heart and soul into getting this stuff in front of people who are not farmers, because there's plenty of great farm influencers. Keep doing what you're doing. Let's think about all of society. Let's not think about, hey, how can we change the industry? Like, let's change the fundamental way we view our food. But that's not going to happen. Like, it starts here, but it's happening at the high level news and Netflix level.
But the whole world runs on money.
Correct.
So if the whole world runs on money, you can preach to me the message all you want. If I'm going to be poor, I just as soon take the sexiness of farming out and chase the dollars. So anybody who's in the industry, we have thousands and thousands of people who are in the industry. They want to target market the people that want to use and like their product. And I don't care as much about advocating for the little old lady in Tulare, California that doesn't know anything about ag. She'll get it. It's going to come to the market. It'll go to Kroger. She'll buy it. Does it matter that they know?
Does it matter that they know? If we don't know where our food comes from, does it matter what they do to farmers or ranchers? If they don't know what's going on, does it matter how they treat you? At all levels, corporation, government, farmer to farmer, rancher to rancher, does it matter how people act if no one's watching?
Absolutely.
It matters.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Let me be the devil's advocate. I don't know that it matters whether I'm on 4K or 1080p. I think they're still going to watch my video. Did it matter? If you have good stuff, does it matter? If I have a good steak, does it matter where it came from if it tastes good?
What if you have the ability
I don't know.
to
I just play devil's advocate.
Right. What if you have the ability to influence the way someone can make a decision, whether that's in the way that they vote politically, the way that they manage their company that might be a multi-billion-dollar organization?
I don't want to be influenced by you.
No, not by us. Agriculture in general.
Yeah.
Just the sheer fact of you look at some of the political campaigns and where the dollars are traced back to, and that is somebody's opinion that is being shared with others in the form of where their dollars go. So if you can influence the way their dollars are gone, it could be into supporting his Netflix documentary.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like, I think the agriculture industry will win when more people know about it and want to be involved in it. Like, guys, we're facing a huge labor crisis in this industry.
Oh, yeah.
And what's our answer to it? Automate away the people or have immigrants do it. Okay, like, that's cool. There are young people who want to farm. Like, I talk about that a lot too. Is like there's a lot of young people who want to be this industry. It's hard to get in unless you find the exact right person. Because a lot of people are okay, like, you work like a farm kid. Like, you didn't grow up a farm kid. How am I going to teach you to work like a farm kid? It's not the work like a farm kid. It's like, let me help you get to the point where you're willing to do what needs to be done.
To piggyback onto more of Dave's devil's advocate.
I love this.
Yes, yeah. So if I'm a middle class to lower class family wage, and do I care where my food comes from, or do I just want something that's affordable for my family? Am I really caring if it's organic or raised this way or that way or came from this farm? Or is it the smaller percentage that's being the loudest that's wanting to know? And
we do business with people we trust. So I don't care if I'm a vendor here and I do business with them because they're local, because I trust them, because I know that they're going to be a trusted advisor. People can kind of charge whatever they want if you trust them, because you're going to do business with them. Maybe it's just not educated. I don't need to know where a Louis Vuitton purse comes from, but if my wife trusts it, then she'll buy it. So maybe we just need to build that trust back, is what I'm thinking.
But so I'm going to piggyback off both of those.
Yep.
What you're saying, cheap food has made America what it is today. Being able to go to the grocery store and not have to worry about spending 50% of your income on food has been a massive win for this country.
Yep.
And that's not going away anytime soon. The direct-to-consumer market is growing.
Yes.
People are more conscious about that, and I think that is, if we're talking farm for profit for anyone who's in the ag community, like, guys, direct-to-consumer is a great way to diversify when the markets are the way they are right now.
Yeah.
Like, diversifying in a way that's going to help increase it's farm income, but it feels like off farm income because it's more of I can price this how it needs to be priced. With that said, we need commodity growers to meet that lower income. Like, guys, the middle class is not growing right now. That lower tier food bracket is super important for a lot of people. So we need this commodity market, but we need to help people trust where their food comes from.
Right.
I think a lot of consumers are going into stores right now and they're saying, I have to buy this. This is what I need. But man, it would be nice if this was the perfect, healthiest thing. It's like, well, we need to rebuild this trust that you have.
Do you think we lost the trust because of Netflix?
I think we lost the trust because we were so busy growing so much food, trying to feed this country, that we were too busy to look back and say, oh man, the people who are controlling the narratives of how this stuff goes.
So guys, here we went from way back in the day. We were always direct to consumer. It was local community. Yep. We didn't. Then we scaled agriculture, and now we scaled it up to where we maybe overproduce. We have carryover, we have margins, right? And now are we coming back down the train to we want back to direct to consumer? Is it going to be a cyclical thing where we go big, we go home, we go big, we go? I mean, what's the train ride look like?
We also had a lot more voices back in the day, because there were a lot more farmers.
More people were connected to the farm.
Yep. Your degree of separation from agriculture was a lot shorter in the past. Now there's fewer people, smaller families. That connection is a little bit more strained.
Yeah.
So why do you think we're getting the hate? Some of the hate that comes, is it because that bag of groceries isn't $20 anymore? It's $100, or is it because we did get flush with cash and for a while, and now a lot of the more, I would call them suburban housewives, are caring where their food comes from more, and beating the drum that we need
when things are
better
good.
Food.
When things are good, you don't think about that stuff as much. When the economy is great, which historically we've had a pretty good economy for 20. We've had my generation has grown up in a phenomenal financial environment that even in the 2008 crisis, we still were able to eat okay and pretty good. It wasn't now we're in the point is okay, our economy's all right, it's doing all right, but food is putting that stress on people. So we bounced back from 2008 pretty well comparatively, but it's been a slow crawl back up. And so especially now, consumers are like, my food's so expensive. They're just profit hungry. This is all they're doing. Where in a place like 2008, we didn't see that massive food price increase. So things are hard right now, paired with high food also being inflated. Well, obviously you're going to be a little frustrated because you're still trying to pinch pennies. You're not going broke or anything, but you're pinching pennies to try to, just maintain your lifestyle. And also, we've seen a lifestyle increase over the past 30, 40 years. We live really comfortably, guys. People in America believe that their, Louis Vuitton stuff is a right. It's not like
you're not entitled to Louis Vuitton.
It's like, no, I should get to spend hundreds of dollars on my luxury items, which 20 years ago my mom would have said, that's stupid. Like, I don't need that. My wallet will give. And there's still people like that. But I think the overall consumer base has moved to that urban, like, I like my high-end
As
goods.
inflation goes up, do you think more people say, well, it's $20 for a cheeseburger? Or do you think people say, geez, my fuel's $6 a gallon? What do people say more when they talk about inflation? I was just thinking of his comment. I think food. I think everybody talks food.
Well, yeah, you go to a gas station and you just want to grab a burger or sliced pizza or something, and then you come out of there for $15 or $20. Like, what? You used to be able to do that for $6-7 bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
how else are gas stations supposed to make their money?
Yeah, not selling gas.
Yeah.
So another interesting perspective, taking one of the comments you said earlier in this interview about how we want to avoid staying in that silo. But it's not bad to still put out your content, because if we fill the silo up and it spills over, that's still a positive effect.
Oh, yeah. I'm all about more farm content for the win. My biggest thing I tell people who are like, what can I do to help? I'm like, share your story online.
Right. But when we talk about the fact that there is less farmers today than there has been in the past, we also know that some of those farmers and listeners are purposely in this industry because of the exclusion. The ability to not be dead center of a city, to not have all the population surrounding them. They purposely are secluding themselves from life.
So lifestyle-based decisions.
It is lifestyle. So how do you encourage those individuals to share their story when they have no interest?
I don't think it's for everyone. I don't think it's for everyone. Where I draw the line is like, if you're willing to complain about the problem, are you willing to sacrifice a little to do something about it? And I'm big personal responsibility guys. Like, yeah, you moved away from the city to not deal with people, but maybe that's part of the problem, is you moved away from the people who needed to hear your story the most. And now that you're like, well, why does everyone hate farmers and ranchers? Well, you left. You wanted to go, which is fine for some people. I'm that type of person. Like, man, when I'm stressed, I go to a little cabin in Montana by myself in my head. I'm like, oh,
I think this goes back to the cabin in Montana. I mentioned his license plate, right? In Montana says keep out. There's no more room, right? Well, you talked about moving to the country. I have a neighbor that moved next to me, and there's a cattle yard next to me, and she made a complaint to the DNR. Like, whoa! We were here before you. You moved to the country, and now you're complaining. So there's a give and take there. I don't know if you want them to even watch the YouTube videos and get the message or not.
So if a lot of information is exchanged via streaming platforms, Netflix for an example, and agriculture does not have a majority of the content on streaming platforms as such, it needs to be built.
So, yes. So I'm way more of a bigger advocate of YouTube than Netflix. I look at YouTube's more fun to produce content for. I don't have so teaser 2025. We're in some early talks to be working on a Netflix level documentary to do something like this. Man, checklist is pretty big, and I'm like, man, it's gonna be pretty hard. Like, we're gonna do it. It needs to be done. But I'm like, I'd rather do that on YouTube, because people on YouTube, and I think any of our FarmTuber friends who listen to this,
FarmTuber. There's the word.
You guys ever heard that before?
No.
Yeah, but all these
I thought that was a potato.
FarmTuber.
Think about it. I said 20 minutes ago, man, why did I want to farm? Because I was watching Cold Corn Star on YouTube. Yeah. That connected a young audience. The Netflix thing for me is, we need that level of authority. That's where I'm at. I don't need a million people to watch it. I need people to know that this industry is willing to put that effort forward to say, if the lobbyists at these fake meat companies are willing to spend a bunch of money saying go vegan, buy our non actual meat product that's really just tofu or whatever chemical junk it is. You follow all these documentaries. Who paid for those? It's all these companies.
But then who watches them? Because here's the deal. You said that the people that like tractors, like, oh, I love your videos because I like tractors. I'm only going to watch the stuff I like anyway. These guys are giving me crap about my TikTok feed. They're like, I know it's going to come up on your TikTok feed, because they think that's what I watch, right? Well, if I don't care about my food, am I going to watch it? So are we still hitting the wrong audience?
Maybe.
What do they want? If they don't want the tractor content, what do they want?
I think people really want to hear stories.
Storytelling.
I think the beauty of the U.S. is, it's like, I love old Western history. I love the stories of these pioneers who settled the West, and when they were cowboys who ran the range from Texas to Montana.
Corey's a cowboy.
Or
today.
Or they settled in Kansas right before the Dust Bowl, and listening to those stories. That's the sort of stuff that you hear and you're like, there's no way that happened. That can't be real. there's cool stories like that. There's those 100-year legacies that are scattered across the country.
Did you guys ever play Oregon Trail?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So much fun. Dying of dysentery.
Dying of dysentery.
Fording the river.
Yeah.
People clearly enjoy that stuff, even like the nitty-gritty
Chuck
of that
the wagon
stuff.
and
I
forge
liked
it.
hunting,
Yeah.
shooting my rabbits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that there have been some good like food documentaries that have been put out that aren't totally bashing it, but what they do is they say, look at this potato in my hand. This is a cool potato. Let's see how it's grown. It's like, I don't care about the potato. Who grew that potato? And I think that's the beauty of Netflix and Hollywood and all that is it's the story that compels you. You think of doing like things that you just feel compulsively. It's not because of a fact sheet. It's because, oh man, I just, that music with that video paired, it just moved me in a way that I can't put into words. That's the stuff people remember. Those are Oscar-winning things. No offense to Marvel. We're all a little tired of Marvel movies. They've kind of been the same for a while. These days, no one's like, oh, well, which Marvel movie was that? They don't know. Yeah. But the Oscar-winning movies who are like, that movie left me shook. Those are the ones, and that's the type of content I want to shift towards. Like,
I love those TikToks when someone's zooming in on somebody getting to a certain point in a movie, knowing that their reaction is going to come. That's the type of content that you need when you know by the time they get to the 35-minute mark that they are just going to completely fall apart.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. I've just finished 1883, the Yellowstone.
Oh, it's great series.
For 2 days, I kept telling my wife, I was like, I just can't. I like just could not.
We need the second. We need next season.
I just could not. I was like, my jaw was just dropped. But that's the thing I think about for days. It's not like that was kind of fun. It was like I just thought about that for days. And we need to bring that real life storytelling to the ag world.
So does the ag world need an agent? Does it need a marketing firm? Does the ag world need connection to producers? How do we do that? Because we all have stories. I guarantee you we've got listeners right now that are going, my grandpa would have a great story. Or they're sitting there going, yes, this would make a great Netflix documentary.
So I would encourage anyone who's listening to this right now, go to the Denton Farms YouTube channel that I have been producing with my buddy Neil Denton down in Kentucky. We recently did an hour-long video. It was an hour-long, just kind of vlog style. I was the one behind the camera. We had his 70-year-old dad who was running a gleaner in the 80s when these gleaners were all brand new, and he was telling a story of the first gleaner they bought. Everyone thought he was crazy. It was a new machine. It was like everyone was running
harvest and plant at the same time.
Everyone was running a deer case, and everyone's like, oh man, this guy, like, they're an idiot. They got like 10 inches of rain in the middle of harvest. All these heavy combines are thinking the gleaner that's 10,000 pounds like lighter is floating through all this, and they're going to harvest other people's crops. People loved that story. They're like, that is so cool. That was such a cool story. We want to see more of Pop. It wasn't the cool shiny X9 in that video. It was the story that Pop was telling that everyone was talking about. And that alone, and that's been our best video like week over week. That one, like most videos on YouTube, go like this first 2 days and they stop. This one has just gone steadily up.
We talked to Machinery Pete about that. It's the story.
Yeah.
So, but how does everyone loves stories, right?
Correct.
Doesn't matter. I could go watch something on not agriculture. If it's a good story, I'm going to watch it. Mm-hmm. How does that change your opinion or voting power when they're purchasing their food?
When I pick up some piece of produce or food in the store, I am thinking, what is this going to taste like? Is this good? That is all I care about. Is it going to be good for me? Is it going to be I don't go to McDonald's and I'm like, McDonald's, this is going to be super healthy for me. But I go to McDonald's and I'm like, I bet you this is going to taste really good.
You know what you're going to get.
You know what you're going to get. And I know it's bad for me.
Yeah.
But what the problem is like if you don't know who's growing it, your automatic conclusion is the person who grew this processed food for me is a bad person. If it's like McDonald's, like you get to that mindset because you just don't know. But if you put a face to that person, and it's been tried before, it has been done. The Got Milk campaign was super cool. I still think that was a great marketing piece. But like,
what about the Iowa pork producers campaign that they put together with Eat More Bacon?
Oh yeah.
And then purchase more bacon. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you.
You're all good.
Were you in that video?
No.
So nope, we're not going to go there. I didn't get to participate on an interview that these guys did with AgMag. Did you get to the point of her QR code on the label in the produce? Mm-hmm. And am I correct? Is that a story? It connects you to a story. So you can pick up your apple, take a picture on your label, and you get a story.
So this is something that's kind of on the back burner right now. I'm trying to work my way back into the cattle industry. I want cows, I want beef, and I want to sell directly to the consumer. But I also want it to be in stores at some point. And the first thing I'm doing is like, I want to figure out how do I create a system for someone to scan a QR code, and even if it's not my beef directly, is like, how can I have a map that people can look at in the face, like on every package that's unique? Like if that cow, like if you bought, and authentic too. And I think we need to rebuild that transparency of like, this is where your food came from, and this is the face that needs to go behind it, because I think we've just lost that. We have all these middlemen who sell our products to the consumer.
I think we should just name the cow. Like we do this, like you did it.
You can't do that, though.
Like you can't kill Skittles.
Then you cry.
Like, Skittles, we're gonna take her.
You're gonna have sirloins on the shelf that say Skittles.
Well, that's like at our house, because we have beef, and so our kids were about to butcher one coming up, and our Schnookums or whatever is their name, and they're about to take the axe to it. This is what it's gonna.
Is it cool that your kids are gonna understand that process?
I think so, but there's a line there, because now the wife's like, well, let's take one of Grandpa's old crappy cows and put that in there. This wasn't Schnookums you're eating, but at least they have an idea of how it works.
So this is where I'll be like, is that idea that maybe we need to soften this blow?
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that society's kind of like, well, we have to soften our idea of this. And that's the whole argument against no beef, no pork. It's like, well, what about the way we treat the animals? Like, I've been in plenty of hog barns. I've been in plenty of cow-calf operations. Like, guys, I know how well these animals are taken care of, but we have this idea that they're personified. It's like, no, like, this is our food, and it's okay. It's okay for us to kill this. Yes, it'll be hard because we loved this animal. We raised it. But isn't it going to be so much more rewarding knowing that this is feeding our family now? Society doesn't understand that. They don't understand that this is something that was raised for me and cared for lovingly so that I may eat it one day. And I think that's probably like one of the downfalls of the commodity market, maybe, is like, we do put a number, we attach a number to whatever we're growing and whatever we're selling. And I think we just lose some of that connection. It's hard, but that's the way it has had to be for this long.
Yep.
And so I'm not here to tear down the commodity market. And I'm not saying everyone go D2C. I think we need more D2C. I think the commodity market has its place. And I think we need to do a better job of rebuilding this trust in our food system that I think has just been lost as we've lost the farm population.
So back to the Netflix documentary that you're working on. Just go into that. What are you going to be looking at?
So we're currently working on a documentary right now, this one's not going to be on Netflix. It's probably going to be a 45-minute, hour-long special with a local family farm in Iowa. So we're doing my friend's operation. It's a father and a son and a buddy who they kind of merged their operations. They've created this really cool, profitable farm entity, but they've all been in the farming industry for generations. And so it's just really cool. It's convenient for me because they're 20 minutes away. I can just drive down for a day and we can spend a full day shooting. Our goal with it is to spend more time with that producer, hearing who they are, understanding the challenges, understanding what's going on, and just doing it at a level that will establish authority for the ag industry. Is like, we are here to stand on our own. We don't need our politicians and our lobbyists to be the only ones standing for us. Like, we're going to put out this content. And I've been really picky about not really sponsoring it. It's like, I will fund it myself through our business, knowing that I don't want anyone to be able to come at us and say, well, this giant company paid for this, and that. Not that but I want it to be as transparent as possible. I want to be able to produce something like this and be able to open our balance sheet and say, this is who paid for it. It's completely authentic. This is not lobbied for. This is not something to sway your opinion. This is purely to support the producer who is working so hard to grow this food. And I think that's what we have to get at. We have to cut through all that noise and create something that's truly original, beautiful. I want it to be top-notch quality. I want it to be cinematic. I want the story to be well constructed. I want it to have a great soundtrack. Like, I want this to be well done. I don't want this just to be done because I can say I can do it. It's like, no, I want to do this at the highest level possible because these people work so hard every single day. Corey, you work so hard to raise your hogs. Why would we shortchange our media showing that off?
Right.
This is a world-class industry, and anyone who meets someone from the ag industry knows how world-class it is. Why are we not showing that to the world at a world-class level? And that's where I'm at. I care about quality a ton.
Yeah.
We have to be doing this to the best of our ability. And that's the thing, is I'm sure there's some people trying to, I'm going to keep pushing hard. And that's the 2025 documentary. Someone else is actually spearheading the project, but I saw it and I said, I'm either going to sponsor this or I'm going to figure out how to help. Because even if it's not my name on that project, it's what we need. And if no one knows about it, I still want to know that we help support that because we need that. And that's where I'm at.
I think that was my comment on, I saw something about you go to do that. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but we need to be a part of this or something like that. It's like, we got to be in this because we're kind of working towards the same thing.
And it starts where, hey, it's not everyone. Not everyone at this convention cares, but we collectively as an industry need to improve our understanding of how media works. And we need to say, rather than just do something, let's do something to the best of our ability to support this industry. And I'm not, my business has to be profitable, but I tell people, if I could do this all for free, if some random generous donor gave me an $800,000 check and said, you never have to put my name on it, do whatever you want, produce a documentary or two out of that, I'd be like, all right, let's do it.
That's one thing that we've learned is we've looked at some shows, creating seasons of things and stuff like that. It's expensive. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to self-fund it? You got to be making money somewhere to be able to do that.
So at the end of the day, we run a media marketing company. That's our thing. Social media is our big push right now because every other marketing agency in ag is really great at paid ad campaigns. We create really good tractor reels. That's what I tell people. And we're transitioning out of that. We're creating original content for individual businesses on social media to hopefully support their business, support agriculture. At the end of the day, like, support this mission we're doing. Like, that's why I've kind of been like, okay, I want to build this media company to a scale where we have 5 to 7 videographers traveling around the country all the time that allows us to say, hey, your job this week is for you to take off some of our client projects and come shoot something with me or whoever's directing this project, because at scale that is more than feasible. But it's we're a team of 4 right now. We're trying to grow, but we need to move to that place where it's like, hey, I'm trying to create leeway in my business. I'm basically saying, can I sacrifice some of my profit margin paying this person when someone else isn't paying for it to make this happen? Because I'm willing to do that. That's like, right. As long as I can take care of my wife, that's what matters.
Wait till you have kids.
What?
Wait till you have kids.
We have a 1-year-old foster kid at home right now.
Man, then the time will get tighter and harder and more money and more everything.
I worked 100 hours last week because we didn't have it.
Goodness.
We got this kid, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take care of the kid and work at the same time. That was a bad idea. I could not handle that. So we're learning.
Do you think that you'll have partners or sponsors, or will it all be self-funded?
So I'm really picky. It's not off the table. If I could self-fund it 100%, I'd say, heck yeah.
Well, that's what I'm thinking of, like the freedom of that. Like, you're not answering.
And that's where we've kind of been like, okay, where do I need to get to business-wise to self-fund it so we don't have to worry about asking big companies? Because no matter how big they are, and they say, we will let you do whatever you want, at some point, if they write a big enough check, they will care about what you do. Yeah. If it's the right person and the right sponsor, we're like, yeah, like, we'd really consider it, but I'm not like chasing after sponsors like, give me your money, we'll do this. Like, I don't want to make a propaganda piece for the industry. Right. I want to create true, authentic stories that are going to tell the story, and I don't want any big companies to push us into creating an advertisement. Because there's been companies that have done that. They're like, let's make a 10-minute YouTube video of this grower, and it's like, this is an ad campaign for your business. It's like, that's cool. I love that that was your original intent, but we can't lean so heavy into that marketing side. And like, it's marketing dollars. It has to be done.
Yeah.
And so self-funding is the goal. If it's the right people, we'll consider it. But that's the thing. I'm just kind of build the business in a way that we can do it in our margin rather than out of, let me sink a bunch of cash into this or take money out of the bank. Like, let's do this in a way that, if our company is profitable and growing steadily, we should be able to do that in the leeway at a scale that's reasonable. And that's why I think 5 to 7 is kind of that number. Is our goal is to only have videographers traveling once a month maybe, because we travel a lot. I'm doing 50,000 miles a year on a truck. Like, that's not sustainable if you have a wife and children at home. So I'm just like, okay, who can I put on the road once a month? And every once in a while we rotate in a guy. Your job is to work on the documentary this week.
Yeah.
So that's a rough idea.
Interesting. What's the non-Netflix documentary called? Or is that even out?
I have no idea.
You don't know?
We're still working on it.
Same thing with
It'll probably be out February, March next year is my guess. So.
Okay.
But we do YouTube videos every day on every week on the Denton Farms channel. And it's kind of like that first step. It's like it's kind of a vlog, but it's like a vlog done by a professional cameraman and professionally edited. And then the next step up will be the YouTube documentary. Next step up will be Netflix documentary. So we're kind of working our way there steadily because I'm not going to jump in head first into something I'm going to screw up. Like, let's work our way there so that way 2025 when we start production on the big one, we've got enough under our belt to do it the way it needs to be.
Does it have to be Netflix? Could it be Disney or what? Any others?
Yeah, we'll do whatever. I think Amazon Prime's a little easier to get stuff on, but Netflix is the one that everyone wants Netflix documentaries. Yeah. I want Netflix documentary style.
Yeah. Okay.
But,
yeah. Interesting. What else did we miss about you? You've covered a lot.
Yeah, I'm a fast talker. I'm very passionate about what I do.
Tanner always asks a question at the end, but Dave and I came up with our own question.
We did.
We started. Tanner's just like, oh my gosh.
Boy.
It's a really easy one. What's your favorite food, and where do you go to get it?
Oh, favorite food. I love a burger. I will eat a hamburger any day. The best burger, and this is a cheat, the best burger I've ever had, and Andy Hansen, if you ever listen to this, we were in Montana, and his wife's family runs their own feedlot operation, and so they get their own beef from it and everything. He half smoked, half grilled a burger with a jalapeno popper, also smoked on top of it. And I've had, like, Burger Dive in Billings has one of the best burgers.
I've been there.
It's one of the best burgers in the world, they claim.
Really?
This guy,
it's a little shop, too, and it's just, like, ganky, but it's good.
Yeah.
This guy, Andy Hansen's burger, beat the world's best burger that they have at Burger Dive. And to this day, I'm like, man, if I could, I'm never going to have it again. I just know it's never going to, like, happen again. That I like, almost cry thinking about it. It was so good. So,
food that makes you cry. That's powerful.
There's the name of your series right there.
It's so good I cried.
It's so good.
I'd watch it. I'd watch like a chef's TV show about that.
So you've come a long ways from 16 to 22 or 23, you said. There's a lot of learning in there. How do you best learn the stuff that comes your way?
I saw this question on the doc, and I was like, I like this.
That was my question.
But everyone has the same answer.
Just give him a pat.
Almost.
I'm a big, like, I didn't do 4 years of college or anything. I'm like a throw yourself head. And that's my personality is, like, even if I'm nervous, I want to jump headfirst into it and get unnervous as fast as possible. I think the biggest thing is just say, never put yourself above a task or something. Like, if the highest level CEO in a business has the willingness to go scrub the toilet at that company typically has a really healthy culture. I think just instilling that into yourself. Farm kids don't get to do what they want. They get to do what they have to do to survive. And I always tell people, like, working like a farm kid's great. But the best part about farm kids is they're just going to do what needs to be done. And so just being willing to put yourself into that situation, even if you're uncomfortable, not like, and it's the first few steps are hard, but if you can embrace that uncomfortability for 20, 30 minutes, you get comfortable pretty fast. You can do pretty much anything if you're willing to be uncomfortable for 30 minutes.
Tanner gets uncomfortable when we make the decisions.
Yeah, when we start asking the wrong questions and going off script.
I'm sorry, Tanner.
I feel pretty comfortable right now.
It's pretty comfortable.
Do you have anything else to add, Tanner?
I don't. No, I would typically come into a summary and into a challenge for our listeners. This is a very unique structure of a profit episode for us.
Yeah, sorry.
And we're probably going to get...
I love it.
We're probably going to get a little bit of feedback.
Good. I like that.
Both positive and negative, because...
Bring it.
We've got the people that just don't want everybody in their business. And unfortunately, it's going to take some people being extremely vocal and open about their business to pass this message along.
Yes.
So I want to challenge, because the summary is pretty easy. We need to get back to developing trust. Whether you feel there's trust in the industry now or not, we need more trust. You can never have too much when it comes to getting more people on your side. And we probably can do that best by telling true, honest stories.
Yep.
So that's my short summary, pretty close. My challenge is if you feel like you have the calling, the story, the opportunity to do that, you need to reach out to us or to Clayton, because there's going to be an opportunity for you to do that. And I think there's going to be a lot of united forces in the next 3 to 5 years that are going to give agriculture the platform that it deserves.
Yeah, and guys, I'm not the only one doing stuff like this. There's a lot of really innovative guys out there. Maybe not running a media company, but there's a lot of guys on social media and YouTube that I'm looking at. I'm like, man, you're going to do loads for the industry. And I'm going to tag onto that a little bit. Like, agriculture is such an innovative industry, and the people who survive the longest are the ones willing to innovate when needed.
Yep.
Let's innovate in the media production space in a way that not only says we're going to meet everyone else, like, let's do the best job we possibly can, just like we do on our farms and ranches every day. Like, let's do the best job in everything we can do, including the media space. And that's my mentality behind it. Like, let's innovate, let's be the best. Like, let's lead the way, not follow the pack.
Well, I think you got a great plan. You got one of the hardest pieces to find. A lot of people have the great ideas in ag that they want to do this. Like, we started this podcast, and a podcast is nothing like trying to create a Netflix documentary. But then we started filming, and we knew nothing about cameras, and you already helped us with our cameras here. We met for 5 minutes, and you're changing stuff on them. It's
he walks in there and he goes, I'm not going to be shown in a poor quality.
I did not say that.
You already have that asset, and so if we wanted something like that, then we're hiring someone from outside of ag, usually, in the media side, and they know nothing about it. They don't get the passions and all that, so it's a little off. It's not bad. The quality is fine for video or whatever, but it's just off a little bit.
It feels like there's
now
something missing.
You're marrying these two things, and you gain the passion in an organic way coming up from off the farm. I think you're onto something.
Tanner,
it'll be good.
You said make this a fun show. Let me make it just a little more fun. Listeners, if you're seeing this before the episode, Make it a drinking game. Every time we say Netflix or trust, you have to drink.
And do an extra just for me.
And do an extra just for me.
Make sure it's Busch Light.
Thank you for making this happen.
Of course, I love this.
I appreciate you responding to the request. I appreciate everything that's been put together in your efforts. I look forward to connecting more. If our listeners want to connect with you, how do they do that?
LinkedIn is kind of my business place, which you'd be surprised. I get more business on Instagram than I do LinkedIn. But if you just want to talk, follow me on Instagram at Clayton.Atlas. Atlas Ag Media Solutions is the company name. So my last name is not Atlas, it's Lind. But just look up Clayton.Atlas. I'll show up. I got a picture of me smiling with a bunch of corn in the background. Yeah, feel free to shoot me a message if you have questions. Like, the number one question I'm asked all the time is, like, what camera and lens do you use? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's all about, like, how you learn to do it. But if you guys have questions, you're like, how do I, like, start doing this or contributing? Is like, just message me. Like, it might take me a week to respond, but I do respond to people in my DMs. So get a hold of me there. Check out our website. That's about it. So I'll send them all the links.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Listeners, we thank you for listening to us as well. And until next time, have a good one.